Hey guys, this is Dr. Justin Pearce. I'm with Dr. Shannyn Pearce, and we always have Dr. Donald Miller here.
What's up, guys?
We're with Millpond Integrative Health and Wellness, and today, what are we talking about?
Adrenals. We're going to talk about adrenals all week long. Today we're going to talk about how there is a difference between just having high stress versus fatigued adrenal glands. On Wednesday, we're going to cover the intricate relationship between adrenals and your thyroid. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about adrenals and its connection to hormones and blood sugar regulation. So all kinds of things you probably have no idea about your thyroid gland.
I think the first question would be, what in the heck is an adrenal gland?
That's true. You actually have two of them.
Two of them? And none of them work, so I got it.
So they're two small little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they produce a lot of your corticosteroid hormones, like cortisol and DHEA are the two main ones that are produced from your adrenal glands. So they are the glands that really help you modulate stress, which so many people have so much stress. So I think this is such a valuable thing for you guys to learn. I tell all my patients, I can't take away your stress, but what I can do is make sure your body is well functioning, that when you are exposed to stress, your body doesn't crash. So healthy adrenal glands are a huge part of that.
Absolutely, yeah, because you want to be able to manage that stress so that you don't have the negative
sure,
physical response to that, right? And so, because just like Doc said, I mean, everybody stresses. We all deal with stress. We've all got the deadlines and families and in-laws and kids and coworkers, and so you got to be able to manage that stress. And we see people sick, and mostly because of stress. I mean, it is amazing how much stress can cause you to just be sick. And so it's important. It's really important.
Yeah.
How do we know if your adrenals are functioning well?
So here's something that we run a lot of testing. If you listen to anything that we talk about testing is key. And I'm actually shocked, we were just talking about this before the video, that really when we get back some adrenal testing, it's not always what I would expect it to be, right? So if you were to go right now and look up like stress and fatigue and brain fog and low energy, a lot of times you're going to see something pop up about adrenal glands, but they talk a lot about high cortisol, having a lot of cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And although that happens a lot, typically what I see more is adrenal insufficiency. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Under-functioning adrenal glands. So here's where it gets scary. If you don't have proper testing, and we'll talk in a second about the proper way to test your adrenal glands, and you just go ahead and start treating yourself for high cortisol because you think, I'm stressed, I'm always moody, I'm anxious, I must have high cortisol. So you start taking all of these adrenal supplements and tinctures. There's all those podcasts and stuff out there where they talk about these herbs that they use, and you start them, and you start feeling worse. Yep. I hear it all the time. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm jittery now, or I can't sleep, and I'm moody, because you're treating yourself for high cortisol when you might actually have low functioning adrenal glands, which means you're doing the exact opposite of what your body needs, wondering why you're not getting well. So testing is so important, especially since I typically see those low functioning adrenal glands more so than the high cortisol.
Yep.
So then what about those people that they just think, well, my stress relief is exercise. So I'm pounding and exercising. I'm putting on more weight.
Yeah.
I'm still not figuring out exercise is supposed to fix everything. Yet, what is exercise to your body?
Trauma.
It's still stress, right? And so what is that doing to people? And do they think that exercise is just going to fix it all?
Yeah. If I get back your hormone panel and you have like flatlined adrenal glands, I'm taking you off exercise for 60 to 90 days. So some people love that and some people hate it. So if you're somebody who likes to exercise, that makes you mad. If you really don't like exercising anyways, you get the doctor's note. Like, I don't have to exercise anymore.
Please, negative flatlines, right? Negative flatlines.
That's what we want. Everyone's hoping for it. But you have to give your body time to rest and repair to be able to get those adrenal glands to function again, because like we're going to talk about the rest of the week, your adrenal glands are not just for stress. They physically impact your HPA axis, which is your brain, to your adrenal glands, to your thyroid, your hormone function. They impact your sugar regulation, diabetes, insulin resistance, fertility. I mean, your adrenal glands are a huge player in your immune system to fight off chronic infection. Another thing that is a red flag to me, if I get your hormone test back and you're both cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and cortisone, which has more to do with inflammation, if both of those are flatlined, I'm pretty certain there's infection going on because your adrenals will wear out in the presence of chronic infection. So these are all things you need to know about your body to be able to treat and manage that area properly, because I can have 10 different people come in with all the exact same adrenal symptoms, right? The fatigue and the anxiousness and those types of things. And you're going to manage them 10 different ways because the cause of that adrenal problem and what your pattern looks like might be totally different.
And the wild thing is too, is those people and those ladies have been to the doctors and they've gotten tested. I think we're going to talk about maybe what to look for in a test, but their lab work, when it comes back,
normal.
All good.
All normal.
Yeah.
Well, so what does that mean? Well, that means I'm fine. My doctor said he checked me, and my labs are perfect. Now I feel awful. I have no fatigue. I have no fatigue. That's probably a good thing. I'm tired all the time. I have no energy, but I'm fine. I'm healthy. I'm good enough, right? It's crazy because they just test so wrong. They just test so poorly, so badly.
And that's why I love our testing because, you know, if you do our adrenal testing, we're going to do multiple different samples of the saliva, typically is what we do, or we can also do it through urine. But you'll do samples throughout the day because, again, your cortisol levels are supposed to change throughout the day. And so, you know, if you have a doctor's appointment at 10 a.m., excuse me, and you get your cortisol levels checked, and then, you know, the next time they check you, it's at 3 in the afternoon, and they're trying to compare those levels, it's just not accurate. And so typically you're going to have your highest cortisol levels in the morning hours, right? Kind of get you ready for the day. Your energy levels are up. And then, you know, typically around noon, 1 o'clock, you're going to get a pretty good dip. And then there's a slow decrease throughout the rest of the day. And then again, it starts all over in the morning. And we see that a lot with diabetics. You know, your cortisol levels are really important throughout the nighttime hours because, again, you need glucose for your body to function throughout the evening hour, the night hours when you're fasting. And so your adrenals are communicating with your liver, telling your liver to drop sugar when necessary. And so a lot of diabetics, we see what's called the dawn effect, right? And so their highest sugar is in the morning, first thing in the morning. They're like, well, what in the world? I didn't eat anything all night. How does my sugar jump up overnight? And again, diabetics are never tested for their adrenal glands. It's not even in the conversation, right? So the adrenals are so important for so many different things.
And how often does it happen to you? So if I'm going to run a hormone and an adrenal pattern, I'm probably also running a thyroid panel on most people. I mean, that's pretty typical. And so we do the 5-point urine testing for the adrenal mapping, which gives you the best information. But I also draw a 1-point cortisol on my thyroid panel. And no joke, probably 80% of the time, the 5-point mapping of the adrenals comes back crazy bad, either super low or spikes midday. And rarely does the blood cortisol get flagged. You notice that?
Yep.
Rarely, because in a given point of the day, you might have caught you at that one time that your cortisol was in line for where it should be during the day, but the other 23 hours, you could be way low or way high, and the blood ranges are very wide because they don't take into consideration what time you're testing at.
Yep.
So it's so inaccurate. If you've been tested through blood and they've told you your adrenals are great, you just don't know that's true.
It's so true. Yep. Testing is so important. And honestly, like, unless you're at a Wellness Way clinic, unless you're one of our patients, you're not getting the proper type of testing when it comes to the adrenals.
Yep.
And pretty much everything else as well, right?
Yeah.
Hormones and thyroid.
And we talk about this all the time when we talk about thyroid, but the number one contraindication to being on a thyroid medication is adrenal insufficiency. Literally, if you have adrenal insufficiency, you should not be allowed to go on thyroid medication, yet they're never testing you for those things. It's one of the things that happens all the time in people with hormone imbalance because your body can't produce enough or balance your hormones if your adrenal glands are tired. But if you're going through fertility treatments or anything like that, they're so rarely testing your adrenal glands. And not to mention things like depression and anxiety. Those are so closely related to having abnormal patterns of cortisol. So if you suffer with anything like depression, anxiety, fatigue, inability to sleep, insomnia, like any of those things, and you haven't had a really good mapping of your adrenal glands, that's where you got to start.
Yeah. So as always, make sure you get tested. Reach out to us. If you have any questions, make sure you comment. We've also opened it up until Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. That's when we stop it. But we have a chance for you to ask questions. And these are the questions that we will answer Friday on our show. So make sure that you ask all the questions these next few days that you're thinking about, that you have questions about, that you're wondering about, that have come up with your health journey and process. And write those questions down. Ask us, and we'll make sure that we get those answered, okay?
Real quick, Althea, she said, how accurate are the adrenal tests that you buy online to do yourself? I'm not sure what kind of tests you're talking about.
Yeah, labs are, you've got to go with a good lab, right? There's a lot of places that can do it kind of halfway or not test the right metabolites. I mean, there's just so many things that could go wrong with that. there was a commercial once that was like made a joke about, hey, do you want to know where you can get surgery dirt cheap? Like, do you want to be the person who gets the dirt cheap testing and then doesn't get the results from it? So I just wouldn't say that. I know we've chosen our labs based on the fact that we know that they're reputable, reproducible, and they do really great work. So my favorite place to test adrenals through is the Dutch test, DUTCH. By far the best place to get an adrenal test.
Yep.
So make sure you write those questions for the next few days so we make sure we get those questions answered for you on Friday. Like our page, share our page, tag somebody who has adrenal fatigue, suffering, looking for help and hope. Reach out to us, reach out to a Wellness Way clinic next to you, and we look forward to talking to you guys soon.